guys, what's up? It's me, MJFANGIRL, and in today's video, we're going to be going over some juicy secrets and details that Michael Jackson dropped in his autobiography that you might not have known about. Stay tuned, you don't want to miss it. You are now watching MJFANGIRL TV.
Girl, you got to and touch the sky like history.
Alright you guys, so before I get started, if you have not seen my face before, my name's MJFANGIRL. I make videos here on YouTube for and about the Michael Jackson fan community, and in today's video I wanted to take the time out to talk about Michael Jackson's autobiography. Now Michael Jackson's autobiography was released in 1988, it is called Moonwalk, and in the book Michael Jackson actually spills a lot of details about his personal life, his rise from childhood stardom to adult superstardom. He talks about the makings of Thriller and some of his greatest music videos. He talks about a lot. He even gets into some personal things about plastic surgery, his loneliness, his friendships, you name it. If you have not read Michael Jackson's Moonwalk autobiography, like, why not? I feel like Michael Jackson's autobiography gets a pretty bad rap, not only in the Michael Jackson fan community, but just like overall. I feel like people don't want to read it because they feel like it's not juicy enough or they haven't heard good things about it. They feel like Michael Jackson didn't spill enough tea, but I'm here to tell you that this is the greatest book that you could read if you're a Michael Jackson fan. Honestly, why go to another source when Michael Jackson is telling you right here exactly what he wanted you to know, things that were on his mind that he felt and deemed important for the public to know. So I'm going to tell you 5 or 6 things that you might not have realized that Michael Jackson addressed and talked about in this autobiography, and yeah, let's just get started. So number 1 is Michael Jackson actually details a lot of the creative process behind music videos and songs, starting from all the way back into his time with the Jackson 5. Now, one of the things that I noticed here is that Michael Jackson actually spills a lot of details, especially about the songs that the Jacksons recorded as a group right after they left Motown and went to Epic Records. You can find snippets where he talks about hits like Shake Your Body Down to the Ground, to Destiny, to Man of War. Like, he really addresses a lot of things that I think are really pertinent for us to know as Michael Jackson fans, like how he felt about certain songs, how he felt about the production of the albums. He talks about even She's Out of My Life and going into detail about how he cried and some of the emotions that he was going through at that point in his life and how he was able to evoke that emotion and put it on the track even though he'd never really been in a love relationship, that he'd suffered that type of loss before. So I think it's really important to know about some of the creative process and like what goes on in Michael Jackson's mind when he's recording, how he's reaching for some of those emotions, and I thought that it was really telling. I think, yes, of course, it's fun to speculate, it's fun to read accounts from other people that have gone back, that have interviewed people that have worked on the album, people that were very instrumental, whether they were engineers or producers or writers, songwriters, but I think hearing it from Michael Jackson's actual mouth is just, there's something special about it. Number 2, Michael Jackson talks about some of the stress that he went under when he was filming The Wiz. Did you guys know that Michael Jackson actually had a medical emergency during the time period in which he was filming The Wiz? Yes, he actually had a blood vessel burst in his lung and Jermaine had to rush him to the hospital. And he talked about like just feeling like he was so under pressure and the doctors and the medical team telling him that he needed to slow down, but he was on a mission, you guys. Okay, Michael Jackson was one of the first times he was on his own and he was really exploring not only film, which we know later on that he talked about how passionate he was about the film industry. He was there also preparing for what would happen after The Wiz, which was Off the Wall album. So I thought that that was really interesting. He also shared about how his experience was on the set and how it was so different, you know, from being a recording artist where people were pretty much respectful of what you were doing in the booth. No one else was in there, it was just you. But then here on the set, Michael Jackson was talking about how he had some serious lines to deliver. Meanwhile, his castmates are over on the side laughing and trying to make him trip up on his lines. So even though people thought that they were probably doing that in jest, Michael Jackson talks about that in Moonwalk and how he really didn't find it too funny. Another thing that you might not have known that Michael Jackson addresses in his autobiography is why he hated doing television so much. It's a pretty well-known fact, I think, in the Michael Jackson fan community that Michael Jackson really hated doing television. He didn't like doing interviews. He didn't really like being overexposed to an audience. Even him doing Motown 25 was something that they pretty much had to beg him to do. He just didn't like television, and he talks about that during the earlier years when the Jackson 5 had their variety show, why he didn't like that, and I just thought it was really, really insightful. You got to really see inside of his mind and how he was thinking about his brand and how he wanted to appear in front of the audience, both on and off the stage. Michael Jackson really was a mastermind in crafting his brand, and I think that Moonwalk gives a lot of insight, including why he really never really did television interviews and he just didn't like being on the little screen. Michael Jackson also talks about his relationship with the press and the media coverage of him, even as early as the Bad Era. Well, I mean, we know it started to really happen around then, that media coverage of him being strange and being bizarre and just being someone that people once could relate to, but then he started to become someone that I think the media enjoyed picking fun at and making fun of, and Michael Jackson talks about his struggles with that as early as his autobiography, Moonwalk. Now, I for one am a fan that did find a little bit of frustration in the fact that we don't have some of these personal story times and some of these personal reflections after the Bad Era. It just isn't in any other type of form that's written, that's something that's not fleeting, such as something that Michael Jackson might say in an interview. Like, I've always wanted more of that. You can find some of that in a more artistic expression in the Dancing the Dream book of poetry and reflections and essays that he had released in the Dangerous Era. But beyond that, I feel like a lot of the sentiments that Michael Jackson shared in the Moonwalk book in 1988 are still reflective of things that he felt later on in his life. He talks about the same things about how the media did not like to report things that were true, that it was easier to sell things that were falsified, easier to sell crazy, sensationalized stories. So you really get to dive deep into some of those feelings that Michael Jackson has in Moonwalk. And again, I'm one to say that Michael Jackson in interviews, you never know what type of motives that he had also in the interview. Sometimes you have him against a reporter that had been reporting terrible and mean things about him for years, and then now he's there face to face and he may answer questions differently than he would be in a book like this. And so I personally really love the book for the insight into how Michael Jackson thought about how he was portrayed and received by the media. Definitely pick it up. There's some great tidbits in the book about that. And you guessed it, Michael Jackson also addresses his plastic surgery in this book. Now, Michael Jackson was always like someone that was like, I haven't had that much done, and I honestly personally agree. If I look at pictures from Michael Jackson from childhood to Thriller to Dangerous to History to even later on in his life, there are some times where I'm like, man, he really looks like Thriller era, and it's like the middle of the 2000s, and I think that has a lot to do with camera angles, with lighting. I think a lot of times that the lighting and things were just not favorable of Michael Jackson. Publications did like to print pictures of Michael Jackson that made him look especially different and especially wild, and I think that Michael Jackson goes into the surgeries that he had up to that point right here in this book. You can read all about it. He told you to go check it out in the Oprah in that interview. If you haven't gone out and purchased it yet, go and get this book. Moonwalk is a very good look into the mind and the soul of Michael Jackson. Again, there are two versions. You can go out and get one of these first editions or the first publication. Mine is in pretty good condition. I think a lot of books that you'll find on eBay are also in good condition, but you could also go out and buy the newer published edition. Everything's the same except the forward is now by Berry Gordy. I left a bunch of links in the description box if you're interested in many different stores where you can go and pick this up. Let me know in the comments down below, you guys, are there some things that were revealed in the Moonwalk autobiography that you feel are way overlooked? Are there things that you have recently learned? Are you gonna go out and get the book? Just let's get the discussion going. Again, this is Michael Jackson's Moonwalk, the one and only autobiography that he ever released. And to me, this is essential reading for any Michael Jackson fan or anyone looking to learn about Michael Jackson. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for more videos from me, MJ Fangirl. Like if you want to like, subscribe if you want to subscribe, and let me know down below, should I talk about more books? Give me suggestions. You know I love to hear from you guys. And until next time, I'll see y'all later. Bye!